Hi, I'm Derek Gelderman, and this is my friend Tenzin. We'd like to thank you for joining us today and welcome you to this online training series. Today is the first of a 5-part series on increasing your recalls, your reminders, your revisits and all that sort of stuff. Today's online training video is specifically on how to maximize your recalls and reminders using a mixture of some of the newer technologies together with the classic letter and phone call system that we all know so well. Once again, I'm Derek Gelderman. I am a veterinarian. I owned my own practice from 1977 through to 2009 when I sold it to concentrate on full-time coaching, consulting, practice, growing and speaking. I'm the author of 4 published books, and I've recently contributed 4 chapters to the 5-minute veterinary practice management consult. I speak at events and trainings and seminars all over the world. 2 of my websites are Turbocharge Your Practice and Veterinary Classrooms. So let's get started. Do you know that in fact many pets are missing out on needed care because they're missing out on their annual health checks or some other form of important recall, reminder or revisit? How would you like to learn the specific steps and strategies that will allow you to get your reminder and recall rates up to 70 or 75% or possibly even greater? When I talk to practices, practitioners, practice managers, they tell me that typically their vaccination, their recall, their annual health check rates for all sorts of things, sterilisation, senior screens, worming, heartworm testing, heartworm revisits, all that sort of thing, typically run at about 40 to 50% tops. And that's after 2 recalls and usually some form of safety net. Before we go any further, let me ask you this quick question. Have you recently checked your recall rates for reminders and all those other sorts of revisits that you sent out and that pet needs to come back for? If you haven't done it recently, I'm going to suggest that it's time to do it now. And this is a figure that the savvy practice owner, the savvy practice manager keeps a focused eye on every single month. If you're not currently doing this, then let me suggest you that you start to do it now. Typically, most software systems can run this recall percentage automatically for you. So you just run a report. If your system doesn't do that, then you'll need to get the numbers manually. Look, it's a little bit tedious, but you simply count out the number of reminders of all the different kinds that you print out and envelope at the beginning of the month, and then you run that same report at the end of the month. So when you do and then when you send out the second reminder, you count the number of those that you print out, and at the end of that second month, the number that are still due. So it's that easy. Like I said, it's a bit onerous, but it's very easy. So generally, most software will allow you to do this, and if you haven't got the software that's capable of doing it, then it'd be worthwhile investing in. So at the end of the scenario, you simply log this all into an Excel spreadsheet and record the percentages that have come in and not come in. So after a while, you're going to have a great set of cumulative data. Now, when you implement specifically the strategies and the techniques that you're about to learn, you'll get rates as high as, like I said earlier, of 70 or 75%. And what's more, it's at no extra cost to you. I can categorically state this, as I've had the same results in my practice when I had one, and I've shared these ideas with many practices all over the world, especially with my one-on-one coaching clients and in workshops and events, and we know that it works and works all the time. So now you've got a target to aim at, 70 to 75%. Now, my wake-up call came back in 1997 when we looked at these numbers for the first time ever in our practice, and we were shocked at how low these numbers were, and we were shocked about the fact that there were so many pets not coming in for required care, and we actually felt embarrassed that we let the clients and those pets down to that degree, because they were missing out on the quality of the life and the longevity that we thought they were entitled to. So we started on a program to improve those statistics, and what I'm going to describe in a minute is what I developed there and then, and how we've now modified that so that the average typical veterinary practice can instigate those exact strategies. Now, before I go on, I just want to be clear on one simple thing. Today, we're going to be talking about conventional reminders using SMS or texting, emails, letters, and phone calls. In many practices that I work with as a coach, we've now progressed to a 12-month in advance pre-booking system for everything. The clients love it, and it'll get your recall and reminder rates up to 85%. That is the subject of a very separate online training. Keep your eye open for that. The system that we're going to talk about today is called the five-step reminder and recall systems. Look, if you want, you can really even call it reminders and recalls made easy. So we're going to go through the steps we're going to go through the 5 steps one step at a time. You'll see it's very simple, it's very effective. And remember, it's the exact phrasing and layout of the various pieces that we're going to talk about that's critical to achieving that 70 to 75% success rate. And therefore, there's actually another separate training in which we'll detail the exact wording of the SMSs, the wording of the letter, the wording of the phone calls, etc., etc. So keep your eye open for that as well. Now, as we go through the next 5 steps, I'm going to use annual health check or vaccinations, whatever you want to call them, as an example of what we're reminding the client for. Anything else you use will have exactly the same structure. So, step 1 is it all starts with your receptionist. The receptionist asks the client, how would you like us to contact you? What's your primary preferred method of contact? So when you use that, the following sequence, the next 5 steps, will be adjusted according to the client's preference. If the client says it doesn't matter, or if you want to keep everything really simple and consistent, and if your software perhaps can't cope with the mix of the 5 steps, then just stick to the following 5 steps in sequence, just like we'll talk about. The second step is the first contact with the client. It's the SMS. It's the very first thing the client receives. It's short, it's to the point, and it's going to say, preferably it's going to be personalised, and it's going to say, your pet is due for X this week. If the client doesn't respond to that SMS, then the next thing they receive 7 days later is an email. This email needs to be set out nicely on your email letterhead, and it should be very similar in structure to the letter that I'll talk about in a minute. The email needs to say, and again it needs to be personalised if possible, that the pet is now due or overdue for vaccination. If the client doesn't respond to that email within 2 weeks, within 14 days, then a letter is sent out. So this is 21 days from the sequence started. So the letter goes out. The exact specifics of the letter is what you'll see in part 3 of this online training series. So I won't go through the specifics here. I'll briefly mention though that it must be really nicely laid out. It must be correct in its salutation, in its grammar. It needs to look attractive to the eye, nice letterhead, and it needs to be above all personally signed by someone in the practice. Now, if the client doesn't respond to that letter within 14 days of sending it, then a phone call is made. So that phone call is made 6 weeks after the sequence has started. So, again, the scripting is important, and again, look to the next online training video, number 3 in the series, and we'll talk about exact scripting. But it needs to appear to originate from the veterinarian who looks after that pet, and the veterinarian also needs to set up that phone call scenario during the consultation, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, would you like to, see how high is high? Would you like to add another 5% approximately of pets coming back in? Well, if you want to do that, then put in a safety net in about 3 months' time. Whether that's a phone call or a letter makes no difference. That'll give you another 5%. So that's it. That's the simple. That's the system, the simple system. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure you keep your eyes open for the next 3 online training videos. The next one is all about pre-booking, and then part 3 is the exact scripting and phrasing that for this part, and then we'll talk about the 12-month pre-booking. Finally, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this video. You can do me a great favour by putting your comments in the comment section below, giving me some feedback, sending me an email, and keeping your eyes peeled for the next training video. Thank you.